Hi students, hope you are clear with storing values in an array topic, and today we are going to discuss about exchanging values in an array. So how do we exchange values? What is exchanging of values? So exchange of values in the sense when you have, say for example, two variables a and b, which have some numbers 10 and 20, and if you want to place this value in a into b and the value of b into a, and this interchanging of two numbers within one and another is known as exchange or interchange, or even you can call it as swapping of two numbers. Swapping is nothing in the sense exchanging of two numbers. So in order to exchange two values in an array, so say for example, let us consider uh, an array of numbers with size 5, and I have assigned 1 2 3 4 5 as its elements into the array. So the array numbers will have its elements as 1 2 3 4 5, and its index ranges start from 0 to 4. Then exchange now say for example, here I just wanted to exchange the value in numbers of 3. So the value at array index 3 is 4, and the value at numbers of 2, that is index 2. So the element at index 2 should be exchanged with the element at index 3. So for that, in general scenario, what we wanted to do is element of 3 should get the value of element of 2. So numbers of 3, array numbers of 3 should be assigned with the value of array of numbers of 2. And in the same way, numbers of 2, the value at index 2 should be replaced with the number value at index 3. So numbers of 2 should be assigned with the value at numbers of 3. So if we so let us trace out what will happen if we write this program same with these two statements. Say so initially your numbers array is like this 1 2 3 4 5, and when we exchange, our array should become like this. So when we exchange 2 and 3 values, so 3 values should be placed in position 2 and 2 values should be placed in position 3. So the overall final output we should get is 1 2 4 3 and 5. 1 2 4 3 and 5. So like this we need to get our output. So let us see with these two statements what will happen with our array. So numbers of 3 is equal to numbers of 2. So when we write an assignment statement, the right side value will be replaced with the left side variable. So numbers of 3 will be assigned a value that is present in numbers of 2. So before this statement executed, our arrays, the original array is like this 1 2 3 4 5. So after executing this numbers of 3 equal to numbers of 2 statement, we'll get, as we said, numbers of 3 should be replaced with numbers of 2. So numbers of 2 we have 3, and this 3 will be placed in numbers of 3. So numbers of 3 at index 3, this numbers of 2 we have 3, element 3. So this 3 will be moved to index 3. So index 2 will be same as it is, and the index 3 is replaced with the element 3. Then next statement we have written is numbers of 2. In numbers of 2 we should replace the element numbers of 3. So if we execute that statement, so last recent array we have got after executing the first statement is 1 2 3 3 5. So now we are telling the element at index 3 should be replaced with the element at index 2. So element at index 3 is 3, that will be replaced to 2 again. So finally, after execution of this statement, our overall output is 1 2 3 3 5, but the actual output we need is 1 2 4 3 5. So if you observe, we have lost the value 4 from the complete array. So in order to prevent this loss, we have to use a third variable called temporary variable. So this temporary variable will be used in order to store this loss, the element, in order to store the element we have lost. So say for example, for this temporary variable I am considering a variable called temp. So now let us see how we are going to make our exchange without loss of this value. So now these two statements, when we write, we are going to lose the element that is present in numbers of 3. So when you are going to use the temporary variable, you will store the element which, or the value which you are going to be lose, will be placed in the temporary variable. So as we lost numbers of 3 here, I am placing numbers of 3 in temporary variable. So now if you see, our original numbers array is 1 2 3 4 5, and when I execute this statement, temp is equal to numbers of 3, the element at index 3 will be placed to a temporary variable. So that is, the value is 4 and the 4 is copied to the temporary variable. So then our first statement, numbers of 3 is equal to numbers of 2. So now let us see what happens if we execute this. So the original array will become numbers of 3, element at index 2 should be copied to element at index 3. So element at index 2 is 3, that will be copied to element at index 3. So now after copying, your array becomes 1 2 3 3 5. Then now we have to copy the element at index 3 into element 2. So our next statement is numbers of 2 is equal to numbers of 3. So at index 3, element at index 3 should be copied to numbers of 2. But at previously what we have done is, the actual number at actual element at index 3 is copied to a temporary variable. So now if we copy the temporary variable value into numbers of 2, then we can have the actual exchange. So what I am doing is, numbers of 2 is equal to temporary variable. So this 4 which we have stored in temporary variable will be copied to the array at index 2. So your overall final array will become 1 2, and the temporary variable, after copying, you get at index 2 you will get the value 4, at index 3 you will get the value 3, and at last the 5 will be copied as it is. So finally, after executing this statement, your final array is 1 2 4 3 5, which we have expected when which is the expected output when we exchange the two values of 2 and 3. So by the use of this temporary variable, we can assign values, we can exchange values of two numbers. Likewise, not only with arrays, with normal numbers also, with normal variables also, we can exchange using this temporary variable. See, first, one of the value of these two variables, I am placing it in temporary variable. So initially I have a10 b20, so a10 b20. Then I am telling temporary a, the value of a will be copied to temporary variable. So 10 will be copied to temp, and finally your numbers values at your three variables will be temp will have 10, a will have 10 and b will have 20. Then I said a is equal to b, so the value at b will be copied to a. So the value at b is 20 and this will be copied to a, so that is a is 20, now b is 20 and the value at temp, that is 10, will remain same. So the third statement we wrote is b is equal to temp, that is the value in temporary variable will be copied to b. So what is the value in temporary variable? That is 10 and that will be copied to b. So after copying we'll have temporary variable as 10, a 20 and b 10. So if you observe, after executing these two statements, initially we have a equal to 10, b equal to 20, but finally after execution of these three statements we have a 20 and b 10, in which the exchange of these two variables has been happened. That is about exchanging of variables, exchanging of values of two variables. So the next topic after exchanging of values you have is printing values. So how you're going to print values of an array? So as we have multiple values, we have to use a for loop. So in order to as we have seen in accessing values topic, in order to access values of an array, we need to use for loop. Say for example, we have an array int a of 10 is equal to some, I'm going to assign some values 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 and 19. So I have initialized some 10 values into the array a of 10. So now in order to print all these values of array a of 10 of array a, we have to use a loop. So I'm using for loop here, int for, if you don't declare the variable I here, then you can declare it within the loop itself. Int I is equal to, as the index of array starts from 0 and so on continues, we need to start it from 0. Int I is equal to 0, I less than the size of the array is 10 and I plus plus. So in order to print these values, we need to write printf statement. All these are integer values, so you will write %d comma. So in order to print 10, we have to write a of 0, that is index 0. In order to print 11, we have to write array name a and its index number within the square brackets a of 1. So if you want to print 12, a of 2, print 13, a of 3. So likewise, if you want to print a particular element, you need to write the name of the array followed by its index enclosed within the square brackets. So likewise, if you want to print all the elements, we are placing this index values in the variable I. So for each iteration, the value of I will be changing. Iteration 1, it is 0. Then it is in iteration 2, the value of I will be 1. So if you place, instead of its index number, if you place I here, then clearly you can see that in first iteration a of, instead of I, a of 0 will be replaced and the value of a of 0 is 10 and that will be printed. In the second iteration, when I plus plus 0 plus 1, 1. Now the value of I is 1 and the 1 is substituted here. So a of 1, the value of a of 1 is 11 and that will be printed in the place of %d. So finally your output will be 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Likewise, all the elements of an array can be printed. So in order to access, or in order if you want to access, or if you want to assign some values into array, or if you want to take values as input from the user, you can use for loop. So that is about printing the. And then next you have precedence of array references. So in this topic, array reference is nothing but you're going to refer the element of an array. So this, if you think this is an array and these are the elements, array reference is nothing but you're going to refer the elements that is present in an array. If you think the name of the array is A, so if you want to refer an element, so if you want to refer element 13, then you have to write A of 2. Its index is 2, so you need to write that index within the square brackets, A of 2. So what we are going to discuss about the precedence or the priority that an array element will have when you write it in an expression. Now say for example, this is an array A with 4 elements 11, 12 and 13, 12, 13 and 14. So now if you want to change the value, say for example array of 3, A of 3. So in array A, the index 3, we have element 14. But if you want to change the value 14 here, then array of 3 is equal to, say for example, I just wanted to write array of 2 plus some 10. So I want array of 3, the element at index 3 should be the element index 2 element, the element present in index 2 plus 10 should be added plus 10, and then that should be placed in array of 3. So for that I am writing A of 3 is equal to element at second index A of 2 plus 10. So when you write like this, when you use a statement with assignment operator, first the right side value will be evaluated. This will be evaluated first. So this will be evaluated, and then the overall result which we obtain after evaluating this expression will be copied to the left side variable. So when you evaluate this expression, we have two operands. So that is A of 2 plus 10, and we have an operator plus operator. So as we have seen all the priorities of operators, but when you see we have only one single operator here in this expression, but along with this operator, in the place of operands, if you use an array or an array element, that array element will be evaluated first, and the rest of the expression will be evaluated based on its priority. Okay, so first A of 2 value will be substituted here 13, and then the rest of the expression. So overall 13 plus 10, it will be 23. This 23 will be assigned to A of 3. So finally if you print that array, your array becomes 11, 12, 13, and the last element we have assigned 23. Okay, so that is about precedence of array. Say for example, if you write A of 2 plus 2 star 10. So as we know that multiplication has more precedence than plus, but here first the A of 2 value will be evaluated. So A of 2 value is 13 plus 2 star 10. So after that the first priority is for multiplication. So this will be evaluated. 13 plus 2 tens are 20, and finally 13 plus 20, it gives 33. So likewise, if you want if you calculate the precedence in each and every expression, array element will have the highest priority, the highest precedence, or you can say that the precedence of an array will be 1, highest priority. Next topic we have is index range checking. So as soon as we declare an array, we need to consider about its index range, that is 0 to 4. So if you declare an array of size n, its range will start from 0 and end with n minus 1. So it is the responsibility of the programmer to take care of this index range. So because if we try, say for example, our index starts from 0. So while accessing an array element, if I write for I is equal to 1, I less than n, I plus plus, so a of I is equal to some I star 2. So this example states that each element at index I will be stored with double of its value. So 0, 1, 2, 3. So a of 0 will be 0 into 2, 0. A of 1 will be 1 into 2, 2. So a of 2 will be 2 into 2, 4. A of 3 will be 3 into 2, 6. Likewise, the double of its value will be stored here. So actually, in order to store like this, we have to start at index 0. But what I have written is I is equal to 1. So if you write like this, your elements will start assigning from index 1. So if your array is like this, 0, if your array is like this, 0, 1, 2, 3, as you have started from 1, a of 1 will be calculated, that is 2. A of 2 will be calculated, a of 3 will be calculated. But the element at index 0 will not be assigned any value. So when you try to print this, the element at index 0 will result in some garbage value. So what is meant by garbage value? Garbage value is nothing but if say for example, if the same memory is allocated for some other program and that program stores some values while executing in that memory, that value which the previous program used will be placed here, and such values which we don't need in our program or which other programs use will be considered as garbage values. So if you do not refer your index element at index 0, then it will be considered as an index error. So this can be considered as an out of range index error. And one more case is if you start at 0 and then write I less than or equal to n, I plus plus. So this expression will evaluate when I is equal to n, also the condition becomes true. But our last index will end with n minus 1 index. Say if n is 5, we'll get up to 4 as our indexes. But if we write like this I less than or equal to n, 5 will also be equal to 5 and the loop starts executing, but we never have an index 5. Okay, so whichever the range, if you want to write the condition with equal to, you have to write I less than or equal to n minus 1, or you can write I less than n. So all these points you need to remember while accessing the arrays. So now let us have a look at a programming example, and the question is here: use a for loop to initialize each element in an array to the square of the index value. So say for example, if this is our array and its name is A, total size is 1 2 3 4 and 5. So total 5 elements we have in our array. Index starts from 1 2 3 and 4. So what is asked in the question is initialize each element in an array to the square of the index value. That is, if the index is 0, then that value should be 0 into 0. If it is 1, that value should be 1 into 1. If it is 2, that value should be 2 square, 2 into 2, that is 4. It is 3, 3 into 3, 3 3 is 9. 4, 4 square is 16. So likewise, whichever the index is, that particular value should be filled with its square. So if the index is 2, this value should be 4. If the index is 3, this value should be 9. 4, it should be 16. So like this you have to fill the initialize the values or initialize the values into the array. So what is asked is use for loop to initialize each element in an array to the square of the index. This index square should be calculated and should be assigned to the array, and that value should be assigned to the array using the for loop. So let us see how we will write a program for this question, and the final output should be something like this. You need to have element and its square. So element 0 square 0, element 1 square 1, element 2 square 4. So likewise element 3 square 6. Likewise in an order you need to print the output. So let us see how to write a program for this question. So start the program with including your header file stdio.h, then main function. Now what are the variables we need are int array of 5. See, we need not initialize variable elements here because we are going to calculate it using for loop, and which is asked in the question is you have to use for loop to assign the values into an array. Then in order to use for loop we need some variable I. So I am declaring these two variables, one is array and then I. So now let us initialize the values into an array using for loop. So as the index starts from 0, I is equal to 0, I less than its size 5, I plus plus. So index is, as the index is at I variable, so what we have evaluated previously is value at index 0 should be evaluated with 0 into 0. So value at index 0 will be referenced using a of 0. So that should be evaluated using 0 into 0. Okay, a of 1. So if you want to refer element at index 1, you need to write it as a of 1, and this should be evaluated as 1 into 1. So a of 2 should be evaluated as 2 into 2, and likewise if you observe a of 3 should be evaluated using 3 into 3, a of 4 using 4 into 4. So if you observe a of I element should be evaluated using I into I. So the same way as we are in loop, we are using loop, each and every element will be evaluated by placing I instead of the index variable. So that is equal to I into I. So once this loop is executed, all your array elements will be filled with its squared values. So 0 1 2 3 4 0 1 4 6 and 9. So now you need to print these values in the format like you need to have a heading element and its square, and then 0 and its square, 1 and its square, 2 its square, 3 its square, 4 and its 4 and its square. Okay, so likewise you need to print your elements. So for that purpose, for this, in order to print this heading, I am writing a printf statement, printf element. See, we have some space between these two words, so I am taking /t for a tab of spaces, and then square. So next, this underline should come in next line, so I am using /n, close. Again one more printf. As we need some underline here, I am writing /t for this gap, and then again underline for square, /n because after this underline we need to start the next line at we need to start the number at next line, so /n, and then so now from here we need to access all the elements of the array. So in order to access all the elements of an array, we need to use for loop. So for I is equal to, index starts from 0, I less than 5, I plus plus, printf. See, if you observe the output, after heading you did not start writing immediately here. You have given some space and you have written it in the middle. So for that space I am writing some pad my number with 5 spaces, and then print the number %5t. Then you need to use some space, so here we have used /t, one tab space, so I am using one tab, and then again for square you have written it with some space here, so 5t again. And after printing one line you need to go to the next line, so each and every time this printf statement is executed, last statement should be filled with should be written with the /n, that is next when the next loop iterates for the next time, this printf statement will start from the next line. So on this, the first element here is all the indexes 0 1 2 3 4 should be printed. So those 0 1 2 3 numbers will be present in I, so we'll write I here, comma, and the element of an array can be referred using a of I. So a of I, close the printf statements and then semicolon. So with this we are done with our program. So like this you can write, you can assign values using for loop into an array and print their square values. So now let us have a look at one more program. The question is here: write a program that reads a series of numbers from the keyboard. So numbers from the keyboard means you have to take the input from the user during the time of execution. So in order to take input during the time of execution, you need to use scanf function and then print them in reverse order. So if you have entered values into an array like this 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50, while you print the elements you need to print from reverse. So last element should be printed first and then the next. So like this you need to print the elements in reverse order. So let us see how we'll write a program in order to take elements from the user and then print it in a reverse order. So #include header file, main, and then now declare an array. So say for example I'm declaring an array of 50 elements. See, we don't know how many elements the user is going to enter. So default I'm taking 50 elements. So I'll get memory for 50 elements while I execute the statement. And then we need to ask the user how many elements he wants to read. So in order to store number of elements, I'm taking a variable n, and in order to access or in order to take input, we need to use for loop. So for that purpose I'm taking a variable I. So now ask the user to enter how many elements he wanted to enter in an array. So take that input into the variable n. Then so the maximum capacity our array can read is 50. So now what happens if the user enters say for example 51. So as we have only the capacity of 50 elements into our array, if the user enters 51, you need to reset it to the maximum value 50. Okay, so for that I'm just checking if n greater than 50. So if he entered more than our maximum capacity, then you need to assign the maximum value into the value n. So if you enter some 10 or 15, so as this 10 is less than 50, this condition fails and you will not be assigned 15 to n. This is the case when it executes is only if the value exceeds greater than 50. So if the value exceeds 50, if the user want to enter more than 50 numbers, then you are restricting his entry to the maximum capacity. So 50, and then after making this n value, after assigning value to the n, you need to enter the values into an array. So printf, ask the user to enter values into an array. So printf, enter values into array. So now in order to take input, we need to use for loop for I is equal to 0, since our index starts from 0. I less than, so what is our capacity of an array now? How many elements user is going to enter is placed in n. So I less than n, I plus plus. So use the scanf function to take input values, percentage %d comma ampersand a of I. Fine. Then now the values has been entered into the array. Now you need to just print the array, the actual array. Now print the printf, the actual array in the sense the way you entered the elements and the same order will be printed. So for I equal to 0, I less than n, I plus plus. So in order to print the array elements, so we need to write printf statement, percentage %d comma a of I. Just give a space before closing this. Now you need to print the array in reverse order. Reverse array is /n. So again, in order to access, you need to write for loop I less than, so now we need to print the array in reverse order, right? So if you think these are your elements 20, 30, 40, and these are your indexes 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. So say for example n is equal to 4. I have given 4 elements I'll enter. So I have entered 10, 20, 30, 40 into the array. So now I need to print the elements from last one as a first element. From reverse, in reverse order I need to print. So index 3 will be printed at first. So I need to print a of n minus 1 first, and then a of n minus 1 minus 1 and a of n minus 2. Likewise I need to decrement my index value. 3 minus 1 2, 2 minus 1 1, 2, 1 minus 1 0. So my loops should start from end of the ending index of the array. So that is I is equal to n minus 1. Then up to when it should move. So next index would be this minus 1. So your increment or decrement part should be, updating part should be I minus minus. So if you print 3, then I minus 1 will become the next previous element of the last element. So minus 1. So I have taken minus minus. Up to when we need to continue this is until the I value reaches 0. So as we need to print I less than, and as we need to print the 0th index also, we need to take I less than or is equal to 0. Then printf %d, give a space and then close the quotation, so that while printing you will have a space between each element, comma a of I. So in the first iteration you will print a of n minus 1, that is n is 4, 4 minus 1 3. So first iteration you will print a of 3, and in second iteration you will print I value is 3 now, then you are doing I minus minus. So 3 minus 1, it is 2. So a of 2 is, you will print 30. Then in third iteration I minus minus, so 2 minus 1, it is a of 1, which is 20. Then next iteration 1 minus 1, a of 0. So 0 is equal to 0, condition true, will go inside the loop. A of 0 value will be 10, 10 is printed. Then next you will go a minus minus 0 minus 1, it is minus 1. So minus 1 less than or equal to 0, condition false, and will stop printing. So that will print 40, 30, 20 and 10 as our output. So like this, and at last main close. So like this we'll print the elements of an array in reverse order.